Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you may be. Today I wanted to talk about ports, TCP and UDP ports, in relation to cybersecurity because it is a topic that, once you get started in cybersecurity, depending on where you are, what branch of cybersecurity you are working on, some or most do forget the basics. So today I wanted to talk about the ports that as a cybersecurity analyst, you will be facing on a daily basis, depending on what you're doing. This is not an exhaustive list, but it'll help you to at least keep with the basics. So here we go. For TCP port 7680, what would you say that it's being used for? The answer is it's used by Windows Update Delivery Optimization to distribute updates in Windows LANs. Okay, what's TCP port 80? This is what used to be HTTP. What's TCP port 443? Now it's HTTPS, as for secure. What's TCP port 21? FTP. You guessed it right. What's TCP port 22? SSH and SFTP, Secure File Transfer Protocol. What is TCP port 23? For those of us that we used to be using in Windows, I think Windows 7, I think it was still enabled. Telnet, yes. TCP port 25, this is what? SMTP, used to send, relay, or forward messages from a mail client. Yes. What is TCP port 53? DNS, right? Domain name system. Also, this can be TCP or UDP. UDP can do DNS queries, TCP zone transfers. All right. So what is TCP 110? 110 is your POP3 post office protocol. What is TCP 111? This is your RPC binding. So it maps remote procedure called RPC services to port numbers in a Unix-like environments. So every time you see port 111, think about Linux, Unix, and Mac OS. TCP 135. This is your Microsoft remote um, procedure calls. So it's a client server communication. Port 139. This is your NetBIOS session services, which supports Windows file sharing with pre-Windows 2000 version host. Your port 143. What is it? Internet Mail Access Protocol, IMAP. What is 445? Your Microsoft DS. Supports Windows file sharing server message block over TCP/IP on current Windows. So when you see this port, think about when you're going to probably see it more in Windows 10 and Windows 11. Okay, IMAPs. IMAPs stands its port 993. It's Internet Mail Access Protocol Secure. Port 995. This is your POP3S, which is your Post Office Protocol Secure. Okay. What's port 173? This is your point-to-point tunneling protocol, which is a legacy VPN protocol with weak security implementation. So something that maybe now that we know it's a legacy and it's weak, we probably don't use it as much. But if you see it, you need to investigate what it is. This one is not pod. This one is port 49677. This is UDP and TCP. TCP enables two hosts to establish a connection exchange. An exchange, I'm sorry, is an exchange streams of data. So that's what it does. Your TCP port 49677. Port 3306. This is MySQL database connection. Port 3389. Let's see what you guess. This is your RDP. Allows visual login into a remote system. Port 5900. This is your VNC, Virtual Network Computing Remote Access Service, which is open source and used across all systems. And 8080. This is your HTTP proxy. Or let's say you have a um, a server URL that you want to be able to connect or users to connect to that port, you assign port 80. But if you want to have a secondary one, it'll be your port 8080 or an HTTP proxy, which also will be a good idea for you if you don't know what it is to look it up. Okay. Now moving on to UDP ports. What's UDP port 67? This is your DHCP server port for DHCP, right? What's 68? This is, well, 67 is DHCPS. So it's server port for the DHCP, and DHCPC, which is port 68, is your client. So 67 is server, 68 is a client. 69, this is the TFTP port. Routers, switches, when it needs to do updates, this is the port that they use. I'm assuming this is probably mostly Cisco that it uses that port, but I'm not 100%, so you look it up. Port 123, this is your network time protocol, NTP. Port 135, this is your MSRP or Microsoft Remote Port. Let me say remote. What was it again that we said it was RPC? Remote procedure call. Sorry about that. Okay. So advertises what RPC services are available in a Windows environment. Port 137. Okay, let me just scroll down a bit. This is NetBIOS name service. So NetBIOS-NS name service, which supports Windows file sharing with pre-Windows 2000 version hosts. Port 138, NetBIOS DGM datagram service, which supports Windows file sharing with pre-Windows 2000 version host. Port 138. All right. Now, next one, port 139. This is we're talking about UDP, not TCP anymore. So 139 is NetBIOS-SSN, which is your session service, which supports Windows file sharing with pre-Windows 2000 version hosts. Port 161, again, UDP, don't forget. This is SNMP, Agent Port for Simple Network Management Protocol. 162, this is SNMP again, but this is Management station port for receiving SNMP trap messages. Port 445, we're still in UDP. Microsoft-DS supports Windows file sharing SMB over TCP/IP on current Windows network. If you don't know what SMB is, please look it up. UDP port 500. I'm gonna just say it. ISAKMP, ISAKMP, Internet Security Association and Key Management Protocol that is used to set up IPsec tunnels. Now, if you ask what IPsec tunnels are, they're used between two dedicated routers with each router acting as one end of a virtual tunnel through a public network. So now we go to port 514. Syslog, server port for a syslog daemon or daemon, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to spell it out here. D-A-E, daemon or daemon. I'm assuming this is more for Linux or Unix and probably Apple products because you know the kernel is based on a Unix kernel or Linux kernel. Port 520. This is your routing information protocol. Port 631, Internet Printing Protocol, IPP. Port 1434, this is your Microsoft SQL server. Receives queries over this port, 1434. Port 1900, UPnP. This is your universal plug and play, which is used for auto configuration of port forwarding by game consoles and other applications. Interesting, right? So now, last but not least, 4500. This is your NAT-T-IKE, used to set up IPsec traversal through a network address translation NAT gateway. So these are the most common ports that you would see out there. But again, you know, if you see anything else that is not related when you're doing a scan, an nmap scan of your network, and you see all ports, you know, at least the most common, you will know what they are and what are they being used for. Anything else, you know, you might have to investigate. Thank you, guys. Talk to you on the next video.